Hi, Mai-kee.
Hey Gigi, thanks so much for having me on here. Super excited for today.
I'm super honored to have you. Thank you so much for joining this month. I guess post
Video.
blog posting. I don't know. I need to come up with a better name
Yeah.
for it.
Well, I'm honored to be the first one, and yeah, I'm sure we're gonna dig into a lot of gems of wisdom today. So lay it on me, girl. What you got?
So before we get started, how about you introduce yourself? Tell us what are you an expert in, and share it with the audience.
Okay, awesome. So, hey to all the One6 Creative Community, super excited to be here. My name is Mai-kee Tsang, and I'm a launch strategist and a conversion copywriter. And so, basically, what I do is that I help purpose driven entrepreneurs in particular to help them to launch their services on their website, their online courses, and live group programs. And it's just kind of like laying out the strategy to make it like step by step so it's absolutely seamless, and actually writing the copy to help it sell. So, that's what I do in a nutshell.
Nice. So before we dive into all the juicy parts
Mhm.
of this interview, why don't you, for those who don't actually know much about copy
Mhm.
and what it's all about, why don't you tell us what exactly copywriting is and how do you transform words into magic?
Oh, well, thank you. There's actually, like, Gigi gave me testimonial about that. So. Right. So, okay, if you ask any copywriter, they're going to say completely different things because there's no one definition. But here's how I'd like to say it. So, copy in itself is just words that you use in business to help sell. And it doesn't always have to be selling, in regards to like an exchange of money. It can also be an exchange of selling ideas, selling the idea of your personal brand, or selling new beliefs. So, copy, those are the words that you use, in tandem together to help persuade your reader to take a certain action. Now, that is one way to put it, but I like to put it in two schools of thought. So, I mentioned in my intro that I am a conversion copywriter, but I also think that there's also another camp. There is also, content creators. So content will be more things like blogs and social media, and conversion are kind of like more on the front lines with regards to like a sales page, for example, that actually is like directly related to the sell. But content is more at the top of the funnel, when you start getting people interested into your business, and as people like go deeper and deeper into your funnel with your services and your offers, conversion is actually more at the end when it comes to the sales page. So that's how I like to think of it.
And why do you think, I mean, I guess you already answered kind of this question, but why do you think copy is important for your business, my business, and all the businesses out there?
Well, because you can't communicate without words. Well, you can to some extent, but there's only so much that we can do, through visual impact and audio and everything like that. But words ultimately is it's part of all of our businesses, whether we realize it or not. It's part of our blog posts, it's part of our headlines, it's part of our subject lines for our emails, the actual emails itself. It's actually embedded into every piece of your business without realizing it or not. And think of copy as your 24/7 salesperson. Again, sales, I don't necessarily mean exchange of money, but also, ideas and beliefs and everything. And so, yeah, that's what makes it super important. Like, it helps us to sell ourselves every single day and what our businesses can do for people. So, and I think it's one of those things are like quite almost under wraps, and that's because as copywriters we tend to be underground. So unless there's some people like myself, coming overground and talking about it, it's not really the thing that most people think of straight away, and that's totally fine. But it is something that you should invest in late, at some point in your business. Like when you're first starting out, maybe just like learn some copy principles. But if you're really like looking to get into the six-figure mark, seven-figure mark, investing in some sort of copy expert is really going to take your business to the next level. But it's totally fine for you to kind of DIY it at the beginning, because actually a lot of people hire copywriters a bit too soon, and the problem with that is the copywriter can't read your mind. So no, we cannot read your mind, so you need to actually understand what your values are, what your tone of voice is like, and they're going to take all of those things that you want your voice to sound like, and then they can start being your copy whisperer, your doppelganger. And we can't do that unless you don't know it yourself. So I hope that answers your question.
I think it's very similar as with brand strategists like myself. I think both of us, we encourage people to DIY it at the beginning. When you're just starting out, go and give it a try yourself, because when I speak to some potential clients who are very early in their business, when they're just like, they have this amazing idea and they tell me they're ready to invest, I usually tend to stop them and say, listen, try and actually finalize your idea first, test it out, because they need to know more about their business and the brand, and especially their ideal client, before investing. And I think it's the same with copy. You need to have a very clear understanding of what you do and why you do it and who you do it for before diving into it.
Exactly. I mean, you can't teach someone something that you don't even know yourself. And I just wanted to dispel this myth out there. For those who don't like writing, those are the people who tend to hire copywriters too soon. And it's fine if copy is not your forte. What I would say is, I guess it's the exact same with any form of designer, and like your line of work, Gigi, is that this is a collaborative process. It is not something that you just hand off to the expert hoping that they can work their magic. They can only do that with your input. So just want to get that out there.
Love it. We're being very real here, very transparent about everything. So
that is my passion. So just so you know.
So something I picked up on is you don't actually call yourself as just a copywriter. You say that you're a strategist first, which I love, because this is something that I say all the time as well. So tell us more about that. What's the strategy? Why are you a strategist first?
Right. So I'm just going to say it how it is. I found in a couple of my copywriter communities that a lot of their clients actually hire them last minute because they believe that copy is the saving grace of a launch, for example, because my area is in launches. And I have been hired at the last minute before, with the assumption that copy is going to save their launch, and that's not necessarily the case. And I'm not trying to undermine the value of copy, because it is extremely valuable. But if you have amazing copy but with an audience that doesn't care or doesn't resonate with your offer, or even having an offer that doesn't even solve the problem that your audience has, no amount of copy is going to help. And so that's why I stand in right at the beginning of a project, and I always encourage my clients this. And if they just want me for the copy, I actually say no, because I say, look, unless you have had someone work on your strategy, or you have a strategy to show me, I would be doing a disservice if I say that I can save your launch with copy, because that's not possible. You have to have a solid strategy, behind your offer, and actually knowing exactly who you're targeting, knowing it's the right timing, everything like that, before a single word of copy is written. Like, just to give you behind the scenes insight, I don't write copy until that's the last 30% of my work. The first 70% is all about brand messaging, it's all about research, it's all about strategy. And so, I don't actually get to write very much, because, a lot of the value actually starts with the strategy first. And so that's why I make it very clear, look, I'm a strategist. We are going to lay out the plan. We're going to create the exact roadmap for you, and then we'll write the copy. So that's why, and I'm sure you feel my pain, and you understand why it's so important. 100%.
Absolutely. I think a lot in our line of work, a lot of people think it's like, for me, it's like, oh, well, you just need to design a logo. In your case, it's, oh, well, you just need to come up with some words. But there is so much more research that goes behind the scenes that the client doesn't see straight away. And in my case, sometimes I know that clients actually get really surprised when I tell them the first month of us working together, we're not going to do any design. Actually, I'm not going to do any work. All the work is going to be on you, because I need to learn more about their business, and they need to dig deeper into their brand and their mission, their values, and their purpose. So I think it's very similar for you as well, right?
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the qualifiers I have for someone to work with me. They have to understand the amount of time that goes into me being able to even write copy for them. It's literally, I'm kind of proud of this, and actually at the same time not proud of this. But for one of my last launches, for a client of mine, she hired me when her launch was next week. And just to give you an idea, it takes about 8 to 12 weeks to work with me on a launch project. But she was, luckily, like, she was totally on board with everything that I needed from her to even make it possible. And so I just laid down the law. I was literally like, okay, if you want me to write the sales page, okay, I'm going to need you for like one call of ours was like minimum of 3 hours. And to those listening to the audience thinking like, oh my god, like like what are you talking about in 3 hours? Like, that is like my deep dive session where I understand your desires, your frustrations, what breaks your heart about, you know, what's currently out there in the market. You know, it takes time to go through all of this stuff, and that is where the passion is. That is where the messaging is in there somewhere, by me actually digging through your brain and taking the time to do that. If you want to like shift people's hearts and to reach them emotionally, hit the emotional mark, you can't do that if you don't go through that initial effort. And luckily, you know, my client was very on board. She totally understood that it's quite unreasonable almost to ask of such a thing like a sales page, you know, in such a short amount of time. But she was like, no, I understand. This is like, it was my mistake for not, you know, reaching out for a copywriter much early on. But I understand this is what we need to go through. And so, yeah, just be aware of that. And like, I'm actually the same as you, Gigi, that I don't do a lot of the hands-on work at the beginning of a project, because it's actually all about the discovery of the client, their business, and, you know, and who they're trying to help, you know. So yeah, behind the scenes.
So, talking of strategy, what are the amazing golden nuggets that you have prepared for us now? What strategy have you prepared for us for our websites and converting those viewers into customers, which is what everyone wants?
Oh, yes, right. Okay, so first of all, I have to really okay, I'm gonna take you back in time. So I just want you to for everyone listening, and Gigi, you too, just think back to a time when you were sitting on your sofa or your couch, depending where you live in the world, sitting on something.
So 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. 20 minutes ago. Yeah, that was me earlier this morning. So when you're you know, sitting on your sofa and you're watching TV, so this is before Netflix, before we can skip all the ads, like on YouTube as well. So just think of when you're actually watching your television, and suddenly in the middle of your show, the break happens, and you're like, oh, okay, let me sit through all of these adverts because I want to see what happens before the episode finishes. And during that break, that is when we are bombarded with advertisements, right? But the thing is, we don't feel bombarded. We just kind of like, we pass the time, we go to the toilet, we get ourselves a snack, or we play Candy Crush, whatever it takes, you know, just for those 5 minutes to actually pass. And that's what I want you to focus on right now. When you are on your television and ads are coming at you, what is your body language like? Be honest. I mean, like, mine is like, my eyes slouch. I slouch a lot, or like got my feet up and everything. Exactly. Right? We don't care. We're like, oh yeah, well, I guess it's something. Sure. Okay. So that's scenario number 1. Now, scenario number 2. When you are actively looking for something on Google and you land on a website, what is your body language like then? You tell me, Gigi. Exactly. And for those who are listening to this as opposed to watching it, you know, my back is straight, you know, I'm really focused and I'm very intentional. It's because I'm actively looking for a solution to the problem that I'm having, right? And even though it's actually the same amount of if we took 5 minutes you know, going through adverts, we'd go crazy if we were on our laptops. But if we're, you know, sitting on our sofa, no, but like, we would just like deal with it, right? And so that is just an example for you of like how our intentions and our intentions and our attention, how it's different when we're browsing online. And so when you are actively looking for a solution, the website you're on has to make it so easy for you to find the answer. And if you put up any barriers whatsoever, like, say bye-bye to them, because that is how we very, very quickly lose browsers and we lose the opportunity to turn them into buyers because we made it too hard for them to find what they're looking for. And this is what I'm talking about in regards to the trap of traffic. Because the thing is, so many people focus on getting people to their website, but they don't even focus on what to do when they have them there. And so, you know, that is a trap that a lot of us fall into. And so, you know, a lot of people prioritize lead generation activities. So that's putting themselves out there on social media, for example. You know, we're writing blogs and everything like that. But when people actually come back to our website, you know, we haven't actually thought about how we're going to turn them from a prospect into an actual client. And so that is what I want to focus on today. So I'm just going to reverse engineer this process and how we can help everybody watching right now to actually prevent that mistake. Because I'm gonna hit you with a fact, okay? It takes 5 times the amount of effort to sell to a new client versus reselling to an already existing one in your database.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yes.
If you think about it, that's crazy.
Yes. And that's why all of your clues right now, they actually come from your existing client base. And so this is where we're going to start reverse engineering the strategy. Okay. So let's use your website as an example, Gigi, because for those who don't know, I actually helped you to work on your website.
And, yes, actually.
Yeah. And
thanks for that.
Yeah. And the thing is, when it came to, I remember you telling me, you just like WhatsApped me, you're like, Mai-kee, you know, got a client in 24 hours. And I was like, damn, that's awesome. And that's all because...
That's very true, actually. When we launched our new site, the conversion was 24 hours. It was crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And like, and when you were telling me about this client, like, she was absolutely fantastic. Like, your ideal client, someone who really appreciates your work. And the thing is, that was all because you've done the work beforehand. And that's what I want all of our audience to take home today, is that if you do the work, if you've done all of the work with regards to the branding, because Gigi has put up some amazing blog posts. Like, I learn something every single week when I read that blog, okay? And I'm like, how can I implement this? But the thing is, when it's when we're actually looking to, you know, turn a browser into a buyer, it actually all comes from reverse engineering the journey that they're going through. So, for example, and this is what I mean when you're, you know, all of the clues actually exist in your current client base. So using yours as an example. So Gigi, what is your number one call to action on your website? Is it to contact you for your services? Is it to build your list? Or is it to, you know, what is your ideal call to action?
When you land on my page, actually the very first one is it's a freebie that we have there.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the very first thing. We have this really cool freebie that we launched on the 7 fundamentals of a powerful brand. So yeah, that's the very first thing that you see when you land on the homepage.
Right. And so what that tells me right now is that your primary goal is to actually start building your authority and building your list, right? And so, see, this is what I mean. So we need to think of like, what is my goal for my current business model? Because some people, you know, they want to have one-on-one clients. And that's fine. You know, a lot of people, you know, really thrive in the private client space. Some people want to do group programs, and some people want to eventually launch courses. Because I'm just going to drop a little hint there. Like, I know that you're working on a course that's going to be released sometime either this year or early next year. Yeah. And so that's why you're already making the effort to actually build your list, because you want to have some targeted people eventually to you know, to actually offer the course to, right? So that's why your primary call to action is to build your list.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Right. So for everyone listening right now, I want you to ask yourself, what is your current business model? And depending on whatever your answer is, to actually think of what your ideal call to action should be. So for me, for example, mine isn't a freebie right now. Mine is one-on-one clients, because for the launch space, I can only take on about Clive. There's no Clive. I don't know where that came from. I can only take on about 12 clients a year. And that's because of the extent of work that is required in one singular project. And so that's why for me, on my website, you know, my primary call to action is to book a consultation to see whether we're a good fit to work together. Right? And if you're thinking right now, like, oh, but I don't currently know what my call to action should be. And so I want you to think of your current clients that you love and think of how did they actually become your client in the first place. Did they send you a contact form? Did they send you a specific intake form that's attached to one of your services? Or did you actually nurture them through an email nurture sequence after they opted in for a freebie? So wherever your dream clients have come from, that is your clue of what your primary focus should be for your call to action on your website. And that's one of the number one reverse engineering strategies that I can actually share today, because, you know, you really need to think of your end goal and then work backwards. And that is how you can actually kind of structure your site so it actually focuses on this one call to action you want your browser to make to potentially become a customer of yours.
Ah, so good. Love that. Love that. Okay, what else? Tell us more.
Alrighty, so the main call to action that I've just mentioned, that's mainly on your homepage, right? But actually, every single page on your website, it actually also needs to have a specific call to action as well. And it should actually really be linked to the main one anyway. And so this is something that I go with through with my clients is what is the next step that you want them to take after they've read your about page, for example. I mean, I'm in the midst of rebranding my current website, because right now the one I have, actually you helped me to design, and I absolutely love it. And so, you know, we're ready to take it to the next step and for it to be, you know, a fully fledged website with all its pages and new pages I've added as well. And the thing is, so just to give you an example, here's what I have planned for my new website. I've got my about page, I've got my services page that drops down into my process, it drops down into my speaking, if you want to hire me to speak, for example. And for my blog, I've got free resources. I've got a resources tab that has my blog and some ebooks that I've written as well. And so let me take you through two different call to actions. So for my process, this is where I lay out and I set the expectation for any prospect to have an idea of what it's like to work with me. So when I lay out my process, I literally write down step by step of what the phases are when we work through any project, because I have the same process for each of them. So by the end of that page, the goal is for them to actually head to my services page, because now they know, like that, now they have an idea of what it's like to work with me. Now I'm like, well, here you go, work with me then. And so it's going to link to my services page. But that's a different call to action than to my speaking page. Obviously, if someone is landing on my hire to speak page, then their intention is to want to see what I can speak about, who I've spoken with before, and the next steps. And so that page goal is going to be for them to send in some details of a speaking arrangement. And so that is what I want you to take into account. To every person listening to this right now, is to realize that every page of your website should have a specific goal in mind. And the majority of them should be your main call to action based on your business model, as I've mentioned earlier in this interview. So have a specific page goal. They're actually called page goals. And so I ask my clients this all the time, like, okay, what do you want them to do after they've read your about page? Do you want to send them to your main story video if you have one? Or do you want to send them to your services page? Or do you want them to, learn about a core piece of content on your blog? Like, you really need to think about that. Where do you want to send them after? Because it's not just about word vomiting your life story on your about page. It's to send them somewhere. Right? After they have kind of like qualified you, now they're like, oh, okay, this person is experienced, this person has the credibility, this person has, got the results for other clients. Now I want to work with her because now I know about where she came from. So that is like every single page on your website should have a page goal. And so that's what I would say for that as well.
I think that's really powerful, because a lot of people think of their pages kind of, oh, I just need to write the content for it.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And I read somewhere an interesting analogy for the about page is like, it's like, as you said, you read someone's story, like you're reading a book, right? And then you come to the end of the book. Naturally, what you do is, well, you go and pick up another book. Mm-hmm. But on your website, that's exactly what you don't want people to do.
Yeah.
You need to tell them what the next step should be. Otherwise, they're going to take that step by themselves.
Yeah.
And you don't know whether that's the step that you actually want them to take. So yeah, that's really good, guys. If you're still with us, you're still watching us, let us know what your thoughts are on this, because when I work with my clients on building their website, this is something I come across a lot as well, is that usually they give me this massive Word file with like well, not hundreds, but 20 pages of text.
That's a lot.
And it's great. I mean, the content is great, but what do you want people to do with it? What do you want, what action do you want them to take? So I love how you put it goal pages, because I never really thought of it that way. So yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
So tell us, what about, because you have right now, what we built together was for your website was kind of a landing page. So one long scrolling page while you're getting ready for your full website.
Yeah.
So tell us, how does this apply when you have a landing page?
Right.
In your case, for example, right? Because it's like one long scroll.
Right. Yeah. So let's see if I can think of this at the top of my head of actually how my page actually is. So the landing page website that I have right now, I'm so proud of it. Okay. And so when people first land on my page, they're going to see a menu bar at the top, and the number one call to action is book a consultation. So at the very beginning, like before they even start scrolling, so this is above the fold, I literally tell them why they're in the right place. So I got to remember, people never land on my website randomly, and it's the same for anyone's website. They never no browser ever comes randomly. They come because they came and they're interested. They've heard about you somewhere, they want to know more. So this is why one of the first things I say is like, hey, this is what I do. You are in the right place if. So this is almost like a qualifying part at the beginning. And then it only makes sense that after they know what they're here for, that I naturally weave into the services that I have. And so when people go into that, like, oh, okay, this seems interesting. And then at one point they're probably thinking, but who is she to, offer these services to me? Which is why my next part of the landing page website is actually my about page. So I give a little bit of personal insight into who I am, and then I mention the the credibility that I have, like the people that I've worked with, and how I'm able to replicate those results for whoever's interested. And actually, I think testimonials is after the services, and then it's my about page. Sorry. So at the beginning, above the fold, they start off like, you're in the right place if, here's what I can do because you're launching, here's who I've already done it for, here's who I am, so you know who you're working with. And then at the end, it's a contact form. But along every single section, the call to action is book a consultation, because that is my primary goal, because my business model right now is one-to-one client work. So you can follow a similar flow to something like that if you do have a landing page website, as opposed to a big website that I'm looking to create myself. And so you just think of the journey that goes into your browser's mind. What do they want to know from you, and what objections is going to come up naturally as they look into what you are doing. So for me, the first objection would be like, oh, okay, so what does she actually do? Like, what do her services look like? Which is why my second section is the services. The next part is like, okay, well, she claims that she can do this, but, how do I know for sure?
Really?
Yeah. And then that's why the testimonials are there. I'm like, oh, okay, so what is this chick actually like then? And then it's the about page. And if for some reason, if my buttons haven't worked, then the last part is to contact me. So
if it's not clear enough.
Yeah, if it's not clear enough, or like I popped it in like a big black button, okay, so people can't miss it. Especially because the background for me is like quite light. It's like very cream and beige and that sort of thing. But yeah, so if you have a landing page website instead of a full-blown one, that's totally fine. It's better to have something out there than nothing. And just think of your number one call to action, and then the natural objections that come along as as someone scrolls down your page, because they're obviously looking for something, otherwise they wouldn't stay there, right? And one thing that applies to both landing page websites and full-blown websites is do not have your social media profiles like in the center, or don't make it too easy for people to find. And you're probably thinking, but excuse me, I work so hard to grow my Instagram, to grow my Facebook, my LinkedIn, Pinterest, whatever platforms you're on. But let me just make something very, very clear. And I want you to think of a fish. Okay? Imagine you're on a boat. You're on the ocean. Somehow, in the midst of that huge ocean, a fish has been caught in your net. And then that fish is your prospect, okay? So of all of the other fishing nets they could have been caught in, they chose to come to yours, okay? Even though it may have been against their will, but let's just use this context right here. And you putting your social media profiles front and center is the equivalent of throwing that fish back into the ocean, and you never know if they can come back. Because the thing is,
that's interesting.
Yeah. So the thing is, social media, as much as it is so fun, it really is fun to be on, and that is where we primarily grow a lot of our audience on. We do not own any of these platforms. The only thing that we do own in our business are our ideas, the content on our website, and our email list. Those are the only things that we own. Everything else is built on foundations that you can never own. And so if things just like die one day, if a platform just suddenly shuts down overnight, which it has happened, you've lost everything. And so that's why you do not want to put social media front and center. You can still have it on your website. Like I have it in the footer section, and I know you do as well, Gigi. And that's totally fine. So people know where else they can find you if they're not on your website. But don't make it, because I've seen websites, the first thing on the homepage, there's no call to action, is all of the buttons to social media. So all of the effort that person went through to get people onto a website, she just send them straight back out to the ocean. Yeah. So that's just a little thing there as well.
That's pretty good. Because then, it's true. You never know whether they're going to come back, because I know that for some industries, the thing that I want to see most is their social media pages. So I'm talking, for example, I don't know, when I was choosing a wedding photographer for my wedding last year, I know that I was Googling wedding photographer and landing on their website, but what I was most interested in was their social media, because that's where I can see most of their work and get a glimpse of who they are as a person, this kind of stuff. Especially because some of the websites do not entirely reflect the work of the photographer as well as it should. So for some industries, it works in their favor, but I totally agree that you want to keep your prospect on your site as long as possible, which is why you shouldn't redirect them to other pages, or which is why you should have those goal pages at the end of each page to tell them, do not leave, carry on your journey.
Without saying those words. Yes.
There is so much more to see. So this is really good advice. Something I wanted to add is, for those of you who are a little bit more comfortable with the techie bits, if you have Google Analytics connected to your site, what you could also do is log in and look at your viewer's journey on your site. So look at what pages are the most visited on your site. In my case, it's the service page, which is number one, which is what I want as a business owner, and then is the about page. And after that, actually, it's a client. A case study for one of my previous clients, because she has a very popular brand, and I think people Google her brand and they land on my website, which I'm not complaining about.
Nice.
But her particular project is at the top of the list as well. So look at what pages your visitors visit most, and that gives you an idea what are they looking to find out more. So if it's your services on your homepage, make it as easy as possible for them to find your services without going through maybe the navigation or something like this. So when you land on my site, for example, the first thing that you see below the fold, so after the sign up, is actually the two categories of services that I offer: branding and website. And then you can also do something a little bit more complex, but you can look at the in Google Analytics, you can look at the journeys of a specific IP address. So whereas the first thing is looking at what pages are the most popular, this is more, so each of us has an IP address when we land on someone's website, and you can actually track the actions that this IP address makes on your site, which is very interesting. You can also track your button conversion and see, for example, in your case, which button do people click most after which section on your landing page, right? Is it that right after the services, or are you converting straight after the testimonials, for example? So there's a lot of things you can do with analytics. It's a topic for another day, but it's something that you can start on. So really exciting stuff.
And actually, before we move on, that's something that I forgot to mention when you asked me what copywriting was. And so when it comes to conversion copywriting, it's not only about writing persuasive words for people to take action. It's also combining that with user experience. So what you just mentioned, everything about the browser's journey, like on every page, that gives you so much insight into where you need to focus your efforts on. And if they're like, as you mentioned, if the button copy after the testimonials is going, is what creates that click, that's when you need to focus on creating, really persuasive testimonials and putting them higher, because people want to know that you can do what you can do, and that was the proof, right? So that's definitely something you have to just do it. Okay, just look at your Google analytics to see what people are clicking on the most, because it's going to give you a huge insight of where to focus your attention on, especially for copy.
Absolutely, love this. So moving on, we have a couple of questions from the One6 Creative Community.
Awesome.
On the topic. So let me just pull them up.
Okay, bring it on.
Okay, so question number 1 from Andy. Actually, it's a very interesting one. She says that I'd love to convert followers or visitors into customers on my site, but I first need them to actually go onto my site. Girl, I hear you. So how do I drag them there? That's a good one. So I guess it's more about actually growing your website visitors. Can you give any advice on that?
Yeah, you got to tell people. It's as simple as that, to be honest. All right, so Andy, if people aren't coming to your website, either there's no incentive for them to come to your website, or you're just not talking about it enough. So, for example, if you're on Instagram, you have your primary link that you have on your profile, right? So if you would have Instagram posts and even Insta stories, like just keep referencing to link in bio, because that's going to tell them like that is the primary place to go if they want to find out information X. So you really need to create some incentive. It's not just like, hey, because you just said drag people to the website. Now, I know that you meant it as a joke, but if you find that it is a drag for them, then that means that there's not very much in it for them. Because what we've got to realize is that, yes, our website is our own creation, and it's probably one of the very few places where we can be fully expressive of ourselves. We need to remember that our business is for our customers, is for our prospects as well, right? And so we need to think, okay, what do they need from me that they can only get from my website? And so you need to send, if it's to your blog, if it's to a freebie, if it's to find out your services, you need to think about what are the current struggles that your audience has that they can only resolve as a result of going to your website. So 2 things: talk about it more and have an incentive for them to go to your website where they can't find that same information anywhere else. So I hope that answers your question.
Love it. I'm sure Andy will get some great advice from that. So question number 2 is from Christine. So Christine, actually, I've seen this question pop up quite a lot in the Facebook groups as well. She says that I've been in in biz. That's what I said. So I've been in biz. I've
Yeah.
been in biz for 2 years without a site, and I've been doing okay. But I'm continuously worrying whether I actually need one.
Okay, well, Christine, this is a fabulous question, and
Because actually,
congratulations.
you have been in business for nearly 2 years as well without a site, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Right.
What
So
made you make a site?
yeah.
Why suddenly are you creating a website?
Oh, I love this question. So, Christine, my girl, I understand you. And, I want to first say congratulations for actually having a business for so long without one. Now, while it's okay at the beginning, and yeah, you can probably get away with it for a little while, but I think you need to understand the things that you're holding your business and yourself back from as a result of not having your website. So I'm just going to put you in my shoes right now, or rather, kind of like take you back in time to what made me think of having a website as well. Is that not having one made me feel like I wasn't really in business. It made me feel like it was almost like a hobby, even though I had clients every single month and I can actually keep myself afloat. That was great. But I also knew that I was so cutting off the potential that I could have if I had one. And the thing is, as soon as I had this up, so when Gigi, so basically what happened, so Gigi, I'm gonna like also just say how when I tell people this story, people tell me, oh my God, you have such an amazing friend. I'm like, I know, she might. No, no seriousness. So when I told her, like, oh yeah, Gigi, I think I want to get a website, up and running, at least something. And so that's why we decided on a landing page, because a full-on website, it takes a long time and it's a lot of back and forth with your programmer. And right now I have my brother who is my programmer, and so when it's with family,
Lucky girl.
yeah, it's great. And but at the same time, when you're not paying family, then you kind of don't know what to do. But I saw how many opportunities were passing me by because I didn't have a website. So, for example, I couldn't apply for a project because I didn't have a website. I didn't feel comfortable pitching to podcasts and to video shows because I didn't have a website. I just started seeing all of the things that I was holding myself back from because I was just holding on to this pride of having some clients without a website. And I think, Christine, that you need to start thinking of all of the opportunities that you're missing out on. You may not even be consciously aware of it, but subconsciously, you may think to yourself, I'm not legit yet. Or, like, do you know what I mean? And the thing is, as soon as I had this up and running, because I used this website, it's called card.co, and I showed Gigi.
Which I've never even heard of this.
I just asked for recommendations from some people, like, oh, just a one pager, right? And so my copywriting community mentioned it to me, and I just got on it, and then I did it over a weekend, and I was so proud of it. I was actually really proud of it. And then I showed Gigi, and then she was like, in the nicest way possible. And she
I was nicer than that. I was like,
But basically, what I find is around 24 hours later, after Gigi gets off a plane ride, she sends me a link in our WhatsApp, and she said, Mai-kee, as your friend, I can't allow you to be misrepresented online, and so I've got this for you. And I was like, and I didn't know what it was, and I clicked on it, and lo and behold, she created the website that I have up today. Like, of course, there's a little bit of back and forth, and but she got the main layout of it, and it was so beautiful. And every time I shared this new website to people in my community and to clients and everything, they would all tell me the same thing. They'd be like, oh wow, this website is so nice, it's so professional, it's so clean. And I'm like, and I had to kind of let go of my ego of creating that apparently very crappy one on card.co. So to come back to your question, Christine, I honestly do not recommend for you to, if you're really in business for the long haul, a website is something eventually that you're going to have to invest time, money, and effort into. And the reason for that is because, like what I mentioned, if your business is based purely on referrals, for example, like that's how I started out, which is why I was okay, realize that that's actually one of the least, like it's one of the most powerful forms of marketing, but it's also the least reliable at the same time. Because what if suddenly you get no clients, and then you may feel like, oh crap, I have nothing to show for my work if you don't have something up there. Because a lot of people, they're gonna want to see that you are legit before they actually exchange money with you, right? And so personal referrals can help with that. But if you don't have that, then you're kind of making life a bit more difficult for yourself than you need to. So I highly recommend that you get something up there, just a landing page, just like mine. I mean, like, I'm sure that Gigi will allow me to put a link in the box below, and in the blog post as well, so you can see what I have up, and it works for me. But in the long haul, I don't recommend continuing, for the rest of the longevity of your business without a website, because, like I said before, you don't own social media. You don't own other people's referrals or anything like that. That's very, very tight rope that you're walking on. And so you might as well set yourself up for success and stack the odds in your favor by having something out there that speaks for you when you don't have the time to talk about yourself. Because if you're busy down in client work, you need something out there that's telling everyone what you do without you actually having to manually do it. So I hope that answers your question. So I don't recommend doing it continuing without a website in the long haul. Just get something up, just something that showcases your expertise, that you can get results for people, and just give people an idea of what services you provide, and just take it from there.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not sure which industry Christine is in, but myself as well. I mean, I've been in business for 3 years, but the first almost 2 years, actually, I didn't have a website. I mean, I had versions of it. I mean, I started as a graphic designer and not a brand strategist, but for 2 years, all of my clients were referrals, and it was amazing. I mean, I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have social media pages. I didn't have a proper website. I was just, I was always busy with referrals, and I'm really grateful because, it was easy times. But then at some point, the chain of referrals just stops. I mean, hopefully it carries on, but that's what happened to me. It just stopped, and I was like, well, what's happening? Where are all of those clients that I don't need to work?
Yeah, it's a safety net.
And it was scary. It was a very quiet time. It was a time when I was reconsidering everything. Am I doing the right thing? Actually, that's when we met, Mai-kee.
Yeah, I remember.
It was the quietest period for me, and I was very confused about what I wanted to do, and I started looking for jobs, and my husband started thinking, sending me those cheeky links for job applications. Like, what are you trying to say?
Oh, Alex.
So, but that was because I never really had to market myself. And when the time came to actually look for clients and, put my name out there, I had nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
And that was scary, because then I was like, okay, I need to get on social media. I need to start my website. But then I fell into the comparison trap, thinking, I've been in business for 2 years, and look at these guys who have been online for 6 months, and they already have so many people following them and have amazing websites. And I knew that I had more experience in terms of time, and my skills were really good, but online I was nobody. Nobody knew me. Nobody cared for me. It was very sad.
Oh, that's not the case now. You've got your own community that asks you questions for these interviews.
But now I'm super grateful for the amazing community. You guys are all amazing. The website, and I finally start feeling legit.
Yes.
After 3 years. I start feeling like I know what I'm doing. I do have a voice. I have something to show for it. People can search for our agency. People can search for our projects. And I don't need to do anything for it. I read this really cool statistic lately that when a lead actually contacts you, it's 80% of the job done. So the remaining 20% is basically you converting this inquiry into a client. But up to that, until the moment when you get the inquiry, 80% of the job is done. So every inquiry you get through that contact box, through that contact form, is so powerful, and it's an amazing thing that you have a site where they can just land on, and it all works, and there is a page goal at the end of the page, and there's a CTA everywhere for them to send this inquiry and to just go through the process by themselves without you having to fight for it. So Christine, as Mai-kee was saying, if you're in for the long haul, you need to get something up, even if it's a landing page, but you need to show what you stand for. People need to see what is it that you do. So yeah, strongly think about this. Put your work out there. Start talking about it.
Yeah. And before we move on to the final question, let me just say that as soon as I had my website up, I just showed up differently. Because I didn't realize how much of a mental block it was for me. But as soon as I had my website, I was like, oh my God, I'm actually exposed. I'm out there now. And, I felt like, okay, I really need to uphold my reputation. I really need to uphold everything that I'm talking about, which is why now I show up every week on Facebook Live. I email my list every week. And, now I'm doing interviews, like fun interviews like this. It's because I finally feel like I can. And so if you don't even think that that's a problem right now, just think of like how differently will you be as a result of actually having something up. And also just make it easier for the people who want to work with you, because if you're making it so hard for them to claw through the internet to even find you, you're actually, and I mean this with love, okay, but you're doing a disservice to them if you're making it so hard for them to find you, because you can solve their problem. But unless they can even find you, you can't even do that. And so then they're stuck in the same place, and they're maybe going to your competitors, or they maybe don't even resolve their problem at all. So just think about that if all the other things haven't struck you yet.
Amazing.
So I hope that helps, Christine.
All right, let's move on to question number 3, the last question. Let me just pull it up. All right. Actually, that's a question that I asked you when we were building my site. So this is from Feather, which I love. Really nice name.
Feather? Oh, that's cool.
So Feather is wondering how to sell on your page without sounding salesy.
Oh, okay. Well, this is...
So I think especially when you have... you can maybe speak about your experience, because you have a landing page, but I think you have maybe 5 or 6 CTAs on your page. So, and I asked you the same question on the services page. I was like, how do I don't want people to think that I'm pushing them to buy. So what do you think? How would you answer this question?
I think this all of this requires is just a mental shift. So remember what everything that I've mentioned so far in this interview is all about, the fact that people land on your website because they haven't been put there. No one has forced them to go there, even if there are so many ads blinking on their screen to go to your website. They had a conscious choice to click it. So they've come to your website because they want to hear from you. They want to learn more about how you can help them and how you can resolve their problems. So your fear of being salesy, that's just a mental block for you. And you need to realize that people are there because they want to help you. They're there because they want you to help them. So it's the exact same when it comes to public speaking, and this is going to make sense in a minute. So I remember when I first learned how to become a public speaker, I went training, and then the first thing I asked my mentor was, how do I overcome stage fright? And then he said, if you're thinking about overcoming stage fright, you're thinking selfishly. And I was like, oh, dagger to the heart, Jesus, like being called selfish. And he was like, no, I didn't mean it like that. But it's because if you're worried about stage fright, you're worried about you. You're allowing the spotlight to be on you, all of your thoughts. But everyone sitting in the audience, no one has manhandled them to be in those seats. They have chosen to be there because they want to listen to you, right? And it's the exact thing when someone comes to your website. They want to hear from you. They want you to sell to them because they know they have chosen you to be their problem solver. And so it is your duty to actually sell to them. And if you're feeling salesy, then you need to ask yourself, but why though? And are your intentions pure? That's also another thing. If you are feeling salesy, then are you kind of breaching your own ethics? Are you kind of voiding your own values, your own beliefs in order to get the sale? Because
that's strong. That's very strong.
Yeah. I mean, because, you know, sales can be seen as manipulation. And it can be if the person who's selling is trying to con them, is trying to con their audience out of their money. But if you are in business because you are so damn good at what you do and you're so passionate about helping people, that is all the permission you need in order to sell to them. If your intention is to only help them and to make a living as well, then you're golden, you're fine. So just think about that. Just think your intention is everything. If you think you're being salesy, you got to ask yourself, was my intention pure? And if your intention is pure, you're fine.
I think it's a matter of really speaking from the heart as well. I remember when I started, for me, for someone who was in corporate before and I was used to just, you know, getting a paycheck and not asking any questions. I mean, you just get paid every month. And here suddenly you're actually asking people for money in exchange for a service. For me, mentally, it was really hard to accept because it was a strange feeling. I remember the very first project that I had was actually a friend of mine, and I asked for way little money, put all of my heart in the project, and I remember that I didn't send him an invoice until weeks after we completed the project because I had this fear of asking for money. But he was very happy with the work we did, and obviously he was expecting to pay for it. It was a personal mental block about money, about the fact that, you know, I was thinking, you know, money is not dirty, but it was such a tough topic for me.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, money is just an exchange. It's just a currency that you use to exchange a service for a solution. So if in your mind you shift that you're not asking for money, you're providing a solution for their problem. It's something that they're looking for. And you have the opportunity to help someone with your skills, with your expertise, with something that you're so good at. And that's the someone that they need in their life. So once you start thinking of it that way, in my head at least, it changed, because now I know the value that I can add to someone's life, and that then they can go on and do better thing and help someone else. You know, it's like a snowball effect at the end of the day. 100%. So don't worry. I mean, you need to sell your services, whatever it is that you do, whatever it is that you're good at. Someone out there needs that. And then if it's the correct words that you're looking for, well, then we need, that's where you need Mai-kee, because I remember I didn't know how to phrase, I'm just thinking maybe there was another meaning in Feather's question. I didn't know how to phrase it in a way where I wasn't not forcing, but I wasn't saying like, buy this, you know, like red button and flashy.
It's not like that on her website, by the way.
Bye. Today only. You have 3 hours. Ding, 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 ding.
Oh my god. Oh, cringe. But your website is so elegant. It's not like that at all. And it's just a natural weave into the next step. And before we finish this question, I just want to say, Feather, as well, and to everybody listening, you also need to realize that you deserve to be compensated for your efforts. And just think of all the things it took you to get to this point. I mean, you know, Gigi, I haven't announced this before, and this is only something that I'm going to share with my insiders, but I'll also share with your community right now. So I actually added up all of the investments that I made in my business for the last 4 years, and it's crazy. It is like more than double than my my university fees. And it was, I don't know the exact number, but it's between $50,000 to $60,000.
Wow.
And well, first of all, I was like, man, just think, I could probably have a house by now. Like, I could have my own house by now if I actually paid that money. But I don't regret any of those investments whatsoever, because I realize now all of those investments made me the person I am today, and it also made me uniquely skilled and to what I can bring to my client's table. And I want everyone to think about this right now. What did you have to go through in order to get to this point? What money did you put down? Like, what skin in the game did you put down with your time, your money, and your energy to even create this your unique skill set that you have right now in your business? Because I think when you actually, if you do what I did and you added up everything, you actually give yourself a break, and you're like, oh wow, I've actually done quite a lot in my business lifetime, and now I don't feel guilty for selling, because I'm like, no, I've done the work to get here, and I'm willing to bet every single one of you has done the work too. I know Gigi has. And I think if she added up her investments, I think she's gonna be like, oh gosh.
Yeah, I just avoid that. I don't want to think about it.
But I guys, behind the scenes, I know G, like, we are besties in real life as well as biz besties, and I see and I know how hard she works, and I know she doesn't give herself nearly enough credit for how much she does, but I know that she deserves this. I know that she deserves every success that she gets. So I want you to do that for yourself as well. So Feather, to Christine, to Andy, to everybody watching, just do that for yourself. Just backtrack every investment you've made, with regards to money, energy, and time. Just add it all up, and you'll be really surprised and actually proud of yourself that you've done all of that for the sake of the people that you are serving in your business.
Oh, so good, so good. I stand behind every word that she said, because she's good with words. So I'm just gonna say, Ditto. That way.
Awesome.
All right, I think this session was absolutely amazing. I think we got so many golden nuggets, and I'm sure the viewers agree. Please, whether you're watching this on Facebook, on IGTV, on the blog posts, wherever you're watching, please let us know what you think of. We're going to put it everywhere. Yeah. It's going to be everywhere. But Mai-kee, before we wrap up, I want people to know, where can they reach you? Where can they find you? Tell us. Where are you?
Where am I? Well, I actually have a website now. So it's maikeetsang.com. So it's MAIKEETSANG.com. We'll put it in wherever we're spreading this. Yes. We'll put the link below, I'm sure. And you can also see the landing page that Gigi and I worked on. So she did the design, and I did the of course I've done my own copy. I'm also on Facebook as well, so it's Mai-kee Tsang official. If you just pop that into your box, there are actually two. My personal profile, my professional profile is exactly the same, but again, I'll put the link. And I do Facebook Live every Monday at 3 p.m. BST, and I'm also on Instagram as well. So those are the three key areas that you can find me. And I've got something very special prepared for our audience today. So I know that we ventured into various topics today, but the key one was all about how to turn browsers into buyers, right? And so I know there are a couple of you right now thinking like, that's great in theory, but what about the practical? Because I know, Gigi, with your blog posts, they're so practical. Like, people could just implement them straight then and there. And so I do have a practical solution for you called the Ultimate Guide to Writing Your Own Website Copy. So I walk you through the practical and actionable steps of writing your own about, home, and services page for your website. So if you're struggling with that at all, I will pop a link in the description wherever this is going to be posted below, so that you can get access to that. So that's going to help you actually put all of this into practice, and you'll get some more light bulb moments and some more gems in there as well. And if you do get stuck at any point, there's some helpful hints in there as well. And before we do sign off, I do want to actually kind of highlight something that I don't think Gigi has thought about up until now. So as you can probably tell, we've hired each other for our websites. So obviously Gigi has done my website in regards to design, and I've done hers with regards to copy. And this is something that we really have found in our communities and the people that we are serving, that they also struggle with this. And so that's why we really wanted to band together. So as you guys may have picked up by now, like I've actually worked on Gigi's copy for her website, and she's worked on the design and layout, the amazing layout for my website. And we actually knew quite early on, especially when I first started my copywriting business, that our services naturally go hand in hand. And so that's what really got us thinking that we actually want to help others to do the exact same thing based on our area of expertise. And so that's why, Gigi, you can jump in whenever you want, but let's just say we're going to have something very special prepared for 2020.
Yes.
Yeah.
We won't reveal too much, but one thing we will say is that we're preparing something very special for a small selection of amazing, creative, empowering women. So if any men are looking at, sorry, we're going to start with women here. But amazing, creative, empowering, and passionate female entrepreneurs. So watch this space. We will share more soon, but it's going to be a collaboration of our skills. Mai-kee is going to join us, as well as some other really, really great experts. But we shouldn't say too much right now.
yeah. Let's just say, okay, we are going to put the feelers out there, and we've already spoken to quite a few people who are interested. So, and when we say small handful, we mean like what we said 5 people, right?
Yeah, very small.
Yeah, 5 people. And so if you are interested in this at all, we be sure to hop onto our mailing list. So if you haven't signed up for Gigi's 7 Elements of a Powerful Brand freebie, be sure to check that out. And also if you want to get onto my list as well, be sure to download the ultimate guide that I just mentioned as well, because we are going to actually pick people from our lists as well. And so I'm not going to reveal any more than that, but let's just say we are so excited to put it together. We have even looked at venues and everything like that too. So
it's pretty. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, it is so pretty. Yeah. but that's all for now. But other than that, Gigi, thank you so much for having me on board as one of your first guest interview experts.
I will come up with a better name.
Yeah, come up with a name. And thank you so much for everyone watching, as well as to Andy, Christine, and Feather for us asking your questions today. It was really, really helpful to know where you're currently struggling, and hopefully the answers you got were very helpful too.
Thank you so much for joining us. It was amazing. I think everyone got so much value, me as well. And we hope we'll have you soon again.
And guys, if you do want me back on the show, just let Gigi know in the comments, and then if there's enough of you guys, she'll bring me back.
There's no favorites on this show.
Yeah, no favorites.
All right. Thank you so much, and speak to you soon.
Catch you next time.
Bye.